I'm Janna Levin, and this is The Shape of Influence.
Janna Levin is a New York-based astrophysicist, author, and mother. She is a professor of physics at Barnard College of Columbia University, the founding director of the Science Studios at the Artist Friend Cultural Center Pioneer Works in Brooklyn. She launched a multidisciplinary digital magazine, The Broadcast, of which she is editor-in-chief. Her work is at the intersection of science and art, and she often shares her perspective on curiosity and creativity for various outlets. My name is Angelo Baque. Thank you for joining us on The Shape of Influence.
Hey.
Hey.
Here we are. That's great. I feel like we could just hang out here for a while.
I think so too. Janna, thank you for coming down all the way to the Lower East Side from the Upper West Side.
Yes, thanks for having me. We call where I live upstate Manhattan.
That's very true. That's very true.
It's like the countryside of Manhattan.
I think the ongoing theme for today is really having trust in me, and shout out to David Belt, for
our good friend
for bringing us together, because I would say I was pretty vague in describing properly what was going on today. I was just like, hey, I'm starting a podcast.
It makes it more interesting.
Really? Doesn't it?
It's like extemporaneous. I can be surprised.
It kind of connects back to your studies and what you teach.
Yeah.
I've noticed, Janna, I'm secretly obsessed with you.
I love it.
You love that?
Yeah, my one fan.
with all due respect to my wife, I love you, Coral. But yeah, I've been listening to tons of your talks and interviews that you've done in the past couple of years. And, this all started during the pandemic. I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He's my good friend.
I know he's a good friend.
I love Neil.
And I stumbled across a conversation that he had about black holes and wormholes, and you were a guest on that episode. And what I gravitated towards, or why I gravitated towards you, is the way you were able to describe black holes. Made it very digestible and easy for me to understand.
I love that.
So before we get into all that fun stuff, I would really like to know, how did you end up in New York City, Janna?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Chicago, which is, I don't think there's much rivalry with Chicago and New York. I don't think so. I think it's just New York assumes it's better.
Well, there's the pizza. There's deep dish versus...
Yeah, there's the pizza and music. Chicago has some pretty amazing music. Salt to the earth people in Chicago. It's a really great city. Great buildings. It's a really fabulous city. But I moved here to go to college here.
Okay.
And I was just turned 17. I didn't finish high school. This sounds more impressive than it is. It sounds like I was on an accelerated track and I turned 17 and went to college, but it's not really what happened. I got into a car accident when I was 16. I was a junior in high school. I never went back to finish my junior year in high school. And a couple of people rallied around me and just told me to go to college. They just said, you can go, you can actually just... And so I applied that summer. I applied to two schools, to Barnard College and Columbia University. It might have been the first year Columbia accepted women.
Really?
Or the second, or something like this. So I'm not talking about the 1930s. We don't have to say the year.
we'll leave that.
But, it wasn't like that long ago. And Columbia wanted me to finish high school. And Barnard actually took my application. And then they were kind of like, hey, come on. And so 2 months later, I was in college. It was funny.
And what did you originally study?
I started studying philosophy. I had never taken physics. I didn't finish my senior year or my junior year, so I never had calculus or those. I missed a whole year of classes and stuff. And I was very interested in philosophy, but in retrospect, I realized I was just interested in the big questions. And I thought you answered them with philosophy. And I had this strong leaning towards the visual arts. I didn't want to be a practitioner, but just an interest and a love. And New York was so exciting in that way. But about halfway through studying philosophy, I became pretty disenchanted.
What started that disenchantment with philosophy?
I just felt we were still arguing about what somebody meant 400 years ago. And also, we were fixating on who they were, which I didn't like.
Right.
What was their relationship with their mother? And did they ever leave their small town in Germany? Or, what country did they come from? This really bothered me. How could that possibly matter? If you're talking about big existential questions of free will or meaning or the universe, how could it possibly matter where this one guy came from 400 years ago? So when I discovered physics, it was so transcendent because I really felt, oh, this is true on the other side of the world. And this is true in another galaxy. Presumably 1 + 1 is also 2 in Andromeda.
Right.
And I was so overwhelmed by that I just kind of forced myself to get into it. And it happens, I really like math. Like I kind of like it.
What was that exact moment that made you, because that's a pretty tremendous jump to go from philosophy to physics.
Yeah. So I had two things. I had taken a bunch of science classes just because I was interested in science, I guess. I didn't really allow myself to be interested in science. We think about science differently now. I think about science as incredibly creative and so experimental and just wild, fantastical. And I didn't think of it that way then. I thought of it as rigid and rule abiding. And so it was like psychologically unappealing to me as a subject, but I was studying it. I took biology classes, chemistry classes. So chemistry, you use a lot of quantum mechanics, sort of interesting and strange. And at one point, one of my chemistry teachers, I knew I wasn't going to go into this, but one of my chemistry teachers, like, have you ever thought of physics? Which I just thought was weird. I thought physicists built bombs and memorized equations. I was like, I was almost offended. But also simultaneously in my philosophy class, this young man came in to do a job talk to interview at Columbia for a professorship in philosophy, but he had a PhD in physics. And so he walks into this philosophy class and he starts talking about Einstein and quantum mechanics and determinism and free will. And everybody got really quiet. Like all the people who usually dominate the class got real observant. And I thought, oh, that's really powerful. Nobody's going, what did Einstein mean? He shared that, and then it belongs to you if you want to learn it, and then it belongs to you and you can share it too.
Right.
So that kind of last experience was it. I made a pretty quick switch after that.
And so you mentioned the arts before that. What do you think artists and scientists most have in common and misunderstand about one another?
Yeah. I think what they most have in common is that they're dreamers and that they're explorers. I think artists and scientists really have that in common. I think what artists and scientists misunderstand about each other are their adherence to constraints. So I think scientists think artists have no constraints, which is really false. You think of some of the greatest artists like James Turrell, his constraints are extreme. And the more he imposes them and the tighter he adheres to them, the more minimalist his sort of relationship with light becomes, right? And the stronger the work gets. And I think science, artists similarly, I think, misunderstand scientists' constraints. That we similarly are trying to adhere to these constraints that we can have the most freedom within there to experiment and explore. So great example I often give is Einstein's theory of relativity, which led such a huge revolution, could have been called a theory of absolutism because he stuck to the absolute nature of the speed of light. And that cosmic limit he accepted when nobody else did.
Right.
And he stuck to that limit so tightly that you might think there's less room for creativity or expansion or revolution, but it was the opposite. It was like as he tightened that constraint, it led to this enormous revision in our understanding of everything from Genesis to the universe to black holes to the earth to space and time, you know.
So I'm glad you brought up black holes. I really am. Because I'm definitely obsessed, you know, and I've like I mentioned before, I really enjoy listening to you speak, because the way you speak about black holes, like that passion is how I speak about hip hop to my wife, right? Like when she's just like, I really don't understand, you know, why are you so obsessed with like Nas's Illmatic? I feel like black holes are your Illmatic, right? Like it's like for me, like one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. When did this, dare I say, like love affair with black holes begin?
You know, it's really interesting. I think black holes have a special place. So it began early in my sort of studies, but I didn't really start working on black holes until I was quite far along. I was working on other things, the beginning of the universe, the shape of space-time, large-scale cosmology questions, you know, about the cosmos. But black holes were always there. I always wanted to connect somehow. And I think the reason why they're so intriguing is because they play a special role in our entire understanding of the universe. Black holes are unlike any other phenomena in so many ways, but one way in particular, we think that they can be made in the Big Bang primordially as little microscopic black holes, like they're a fundamental ingredient in nature. And chairs are not a fundamental ingredient in nature. You know, human beings aren't. It takes billions of years for the elements to evolve and for us to form and all of that stuff. But black holes could be literally fundamental, which means they can be made in many ways. The origin of the universe, collisions of high energy particles, stars dying, which is the ones we mostly think about. It's the only way we know for sure nature makes black holes is the death state of really heavy stars. But we have supermassive black holes in the center of our galaxy as well. And those are probably not formed from stars. So we're pretty confident there's at least some other way to make these black holes that are millions and billions of times the mass of the sun. They're enormous. In the center of our galaxy, there's one 4.5 million times the mass of the sun. And we're orbiting it. Our entire solar system together, very slowly, is orbiting that supermassive black hole with the entire galaxy spinning. So they're small and they're large.
Right.
They span all, you know. So
just to take it a few steps back, because I've also mentioned that black holes is a new term, and that before there wasn't the term black hole didn't exist, and it started with Einstein. Yeah. So in 1967 they got a name. Okay. But before that, so Einstein writes in 1905, this is very early part of the previous century, Einstein has this miracle year where he writes down understanding of speed of light and special relativity and the nature of space-time. Then it takes him another many years, over 10 years, to come up with the general theory of relativity, which is his theory of gravity. And it's the idea that mass and energy curve space-time. So when you jump and you fall to the earth, you're falling to the earth because the earth curved space-time in such a way that you are falling along the curve. And that is a big concept. I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, right? Please. But because you do keep bringing up space-time. Yeah. You want to start with space-time? If you could just break down real quick what space-time is for the most simple, like, I know you have children, so if you were talking to like one of your kids at home over the dinner table, what's space-time? Then I would expect you to get up and walk away. Dang, Mom, don't go. Not this again, Mom. So we think of space before Einstein as a stage. It's just a rigid stage, and time is just this rigid clock, and the whole universe just is a series of events acted out on this rigid stage with this rigid clock. And that could be fine. That means time is immutable and space is immutable. It just is. And we just fill it. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about the stage. It's just everywhere and infinite.
And it's surprising that it even came into his mind as something worthy of consideration. But in Einstein's world, in the general theory of relativity, space and time are not permanent. They're not immutable, and they can change, they can deform, they can bend. The classic example is if I have a whole bunch of mass, like in a planet, that the entire space-time warps around it in such a way that things are falling towards it. And we call that gravitating towards it. So this experience of gravity, that if I jump from, the top of this letter A, that I will fall to the earth, that is actually because you are falling along a natural curve in the shape of space. And it's very hard to visualize.
Right.
But really by space, we mean these three dimensions. There's north, south, east, west, up and down. And those three dimensions can actually curve on themselves. They can also stretch. They can also collapse.
Right.
It just depends on the matter and the energy imposing on the space-time. The space-time will adjust in response to the matter and the energy. And so these ideas mean also that time can change. If I'm traveling near the speed of light, or even if here on Earth, if I'm near the Earth or I'm far from the Earth, literally my clocks will tick more slowly here on Earth than if I am far from Earth. Even if we both buy the same kind of a watch from the same amazing watchmaker, and they're perfectly calibrated, and they work incredibly well, and we travel in different ways, we will find that time literally passes slower here on Earth than it does, for instance, at the point of a satellite in space. Even that difference, we can tell the difference. And it's your biological clock as well. It's not just your watch. Your body is your entire biological system is processing in sync with your clock. For you, the passage of time feels totally normal. We don't feel like we're going slowly relative to a satellite in space, and they don't feel like they're going quickly relative to us. But the rate at which our clocks tick is not the same. Time is not the same everywhere in the universe. If your phones, your GPS unit did not correct for this, we could not use Uber to get me here from the Upper West Side, because it would make a huge mistake. It would make a huge mistake. So when messages go to the satellite and come back down, they have to correct for the fact that the time is not the same in space as it is here on Earth.
Because there was an interview that I heard you describe, the analogy of like throwing a water bottle.
Yeah.
And that as the water bottle curves.
Yeah.
With the fall, there's time around the water bottle, correct?
Yeah. It's falling. It's experiencing both a passage of space and time.
There we go.
So when we see, let's talk about Blue Origin. When we see Blue Origin go up and near where the atmosphere thins, and we see the travelers in the capsule floating, they're not floating because they're so far from Earth. They're floating because they're just falling. They're literally just falling. I could experience the same floating by jumping off the roof of a building. It would just have a very, unhappy ending, right? And in Blue Origin, they can use their engines to scoop back up again so that they don't crash into the Earth. But why that's relevant is because Einstein realized, the true experience of gravity is falling. It's falling weightlessly. So when I throw, let's say, a bottle and it falls and it follows this arc, in baseball, it follows this arc. Why is it following that arc if it's falling weightlessly and freely? This was his big idea. He said it's falling along that arc because that's the shape of the space that it's falling along. You can see the curved space when you throw a baseball. When you throw a baseball and it takes that beautiful arc, it is tracing a curve in the shape of space-time. And that curve is formed by the Earth's effect on the space-time around you.
By the way,
That's a big leap.
my heart is fluttering listening to you right now.
Do you also like baseball? I'm not a huge baseball fan. My dad really likes baseball.
Okay, so
That is so sweet.
so back to Einstein's
Yeah.
the beginning of this theory, 1905.
Yeah.
How does that go from that initial thought to this idea of black holes?
So, right, that's where we started.
Yes.
We're on a long trajectory.
Yeah.
He gets a letter. It's 15, 16, and he gets a letter. It's World War I. A friend of his is on the front, on the Russian front, German infantry soldier. He was an astronomer who enlisted in the war, and he reads Einstein's theory, and he solves for what we now call a black hole. He says, imagine that instead of a star, which is a big, huge object, just imagine, he doesn't say how this is going to happen, if it's even possible. He says, just imagine all of that mass was crushed to a point. Doesn't ask how, doesn't even say it's plausible, doesn't even say it's possible. But he writes down the mathematical description for the curved space-time around that crushed point. And what
Which
he's
at this
written
point,
down-
nobody's thought about matter being crushed
Yeah.
to nothing, right? Because even if you blow
Yeah.
up a piece of paper, like
It's really hard.
It's difficult to
Right.
or,
And that's
like you brought up the
exactly,
chair, right?
that's kind
Like,
of what Einstein says.
Yeah.
He says, oh, this is amazing. What an amazing, beautiful mathematical solution for the curved space-time if there was such an object that was crushed to a point. But he said, of course, that's never going to happen. Nature would protect us from this. How in the world are you going to crush the mass of a sun to a point? It's not possible. So they're not going to actually form in nature. But Einstein thinks the math is right. Then it's decades later that people say, well, I don't know, if a star is heavy enough and it runs out of fuel and starts to collapse under its own weight because it doesn't have all this fuel pushing out, starts to collapse under its own weight, maybe it would crush to the point where it would form a black hole. It's called a black hole because at some point you have to travel faster than the speed of light to escape. And so it literally goes dark. No light comes out. Literally no light comes out. So they realize Oppenheimer working on the bomb, decades afterwards, they start to take very seriously because of their work on nuclear physics that went into the bomb, thinking the sun is basically a bomb, that they began to understand that, oh, actually the sun could not resist total collapse. Not our sun's not heavy enough, but a very heavy star, and that a black hole would form. And it's not until the 60s or 70s that it gets a name, people call it a black hole, and that people start to see things indirectly that they suspect are being powered by black holes. So it takes decades. Einstein's not, doesn't live to see all of this.
right. And neither does his friend that was on.
No, Carl Schwarzschild, who wrote him the letter and first found the black hole solution, which we call the Schwarzschild solution sometimes, dies within 6 months of an infection he contracts on the front in the war, in World War I.
So I believe black holes get a bad rap.
Yeah, me too.
Right? There's a lot of like myths and stereotypes that they get. One is that they're ginormous.
Right. And they're tiny.
They're tiny.
Yes.
And just
The whole thing about black holes is they're tiny. If the core of a dead star forms a black hole, it's 10 times, let's say, the mass of our sun. So our sun is 1.5 million kilometers across. Sorry, I do kilometers, not miles.
That's okay.
Almost 1 million miles, something like that. I
Go
could kinda
Europe, go
convert.
Canada.
The black hole, 10 times the mass of the sun, which you would think would be millions of kilometers across, is like 60 kilometers across. It's like a city. It's like the size of a city.
Yeah.
So a black hole 10 times as massive as our sun is about the size of a city. Our black hole at the center of our Milky Way, 4.5 million times the mass of the sun, is like, if you look at the sun in the sky, is only about 17, 18 times the size of the sun across, but 4.5 million times the mass. So they're incredibly small spatially for their heft.
And it's not something that's consistently just sucking random objects. And,
Yeah,
right?
I like to
you can
myth bust.
coexist. Yeah, I want to get
Yeah.
into that myth busting that you can coexist.
black holes
If you're
are pretty
around the
benign.
moon, just around a black or Earth around a black hole,
Yeah.
like you can be chilling.
Yeah, you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. The thing is they're easily provoked, but basically, if our sun were to become a black hole, like some evil civilization came and magically turned our sun into a black hole, our orbit would be just fine. We would not be vacuumed into the sun. It would be catastrophically dark. We'd be extinct, but our orbit would essentially be the same. Hardly notice it. So you have to get very, very close to a black hole to be like vacuumed into it. Part of why they're so, why they do create mayhem when you do provoke them is because they're so small. So if you think of, sometimes a black hole will begin to kind of siphon material from a neighboring star.
Yep.
They just get too close. The star is big and puffy. It starts to lose some of its outer atmosphere. Yeah. When that starts to happen, if you imagine, it starts to splatter on a really small target.
Right.
And that creates a lot of energy. If you imagine dropping something from the Empire State Building, by the time it falls, it's got a lot of energy. It could be like a penny, could be like a bullet. Right. So this stuff comes down and it splatters really hard on a really small target. And that gets very hot and very bright. And that's what we actually can see. We can see like X-rays and gamma rays coming out of things like that.
So I like gamma rays.
Yeah.
So because technically no human being has gone into a black hole.
Nope.
And come out.
Yeah.
So there's just really theories of what happens.
Yeah.
To one.
Theories, but also we look at what happens to matter around a black hole. Mm-hmm. And that we can tell. So we can't, once it falls into the black hole, it's lost to us. That's the whole point of a black hole. Once it's through that one-way divide, it's never to be heard or seen from again. But by looking at the material around the black hole, it gives us a pretty good idea that that really is a black hole. There's literally a dark shadow inside a bunch of hot, bright material trying to fall in.
So where do wormholes come into play then?
Yeah, so wormholes are completely theorized. We don't know of any natural mechanism for making a wormhole. Okay. So there's a big difference between a black hole and a wormhole in the way that Einstein was like, well, we'll never make black holes. Right now, we're like, a lot of people say, we'll never make wormholes. But then nature thought of a way to make black holes. Nature's probably going to think of a way to make wormholes. So yeah, I don't know if they exist in nature yet.
Okay. Because and please correct me if I'm wrong, like my understanding of a wormhole is technically wormholes exist at the bottom of a black hole and then it could kind of spit you out.
Oh, yeah. Black holes don't have to have a wormhole in their center, but you can imagine kind of putting one in there.
Yes.
You can imagine one up. You can ask, well, is it conceivable? And mathematically, you can make things like that happen. We just don't know if they actually happen in nature. But there was this idea, which I thought was very clever from some of the original people who thought about these things. Well, if everything falls into a black hole, maybe it also gets blown out into a white hole. And there's like a wormhole that helps negotiate this. And on the other side, interior, you have to think of it, it's very strange. The black hole has a certain finite size, but inside is a whole universe in some sense. That's bigger than the outside. Did you know Doctor Who? Did you ever follow that?
Of course, Doctor Who.
So, Doctor Who's TARDIS, it was all small on the outside, but it was huge on the inside. Yeah. It's like a TARDIS. So people thought, maybe it blows out to a new universe. And so you fall into the black hole and the wormhole takes you to another universe. I mean, that's a nice story.
It is. It's a great story.
It's a very pleasing story.
It's a great comic book.
It's good. It's good because it makes you not so sad.
Yeah.
That things get destroyed in the black hole, because it's just like life renews again, and it's how life emerges from death, right? We recycle the material and new plants form out of the dirt, and so maybe this happens at the cosmic scale, a new universe forms.
So just to get current, recently we were intently following NASA's Artemis 2 mission to the moon.
So glued to that.
It was a historical milestone for deep space testing exploration. Yeah. In your opinion, why are these space missions important to us on Earth?
Yeah. There's philosophical answers, and then there's more practical answers. Mm-hmm. I think philosophically, we're a strange species. We're a really strange species. Of all the millions of species on Earth, we're the only ones that want to go to Mars. You know, the only ones. And we build things, and we're so reliant on our inventions, or even just a bed. Imagine just living in the woods, you know, without any of our technology. So I just think as a species, we have this compulsion to explore. And it's right there, the moon. We got to the moon already once. It's really interesting. There's only one country that's ever put a human being on the moon. Mm-hmm. And at first it was a race. It was a race to get a human being to the moon, and we were behind.
Yeah.
Soviet Union put Sputnik into space, put a person into space, in orbit, but didn't land on the moon. And so two things happened. One is just the human drive to explore, and the second was we won a political battle.
Correct.
By putting a person on the moon, and we did the Apollo mission, and we went through and put a bunch of people on the moon, and that nobody else did it again. And the reason why there were 50 years was because the battle had been won. It was over. And it was too expensive, and it was too dangerous. And there wasn't any practical leveraging of more to win. There was no second prize.
Yeah.
You know? The reason we're back is because there's a lot more to win. There's the possibility of a station on the moon, possibility of water there so that you could build from what you have. Resources. There's regolith. There's things that we're starting to understand about the materials that are available literally bringing essentially something like printers that can take the regolith and begin to build bricks and buildings. I mean, metaphorically bricks.
Yeah.
But also it's a strategic position in terms of defense, in terms of communications satellites. And this is big stuff in our lives right now. Who owns the satellites, and what implication does that have for wars that are being fought here on Earth? And what happens if one country owns all the satellites around the moon,
right,
and has a strategic position that no other country has, and there's no rules.
Right.
We got to get there first. So that's what's happening right
also,
now. That's the truth.
Exit strategy too, right? God forbid we have like all-out nuclear war.
Yeah.
We can always go to the moon. For the privilege.
We're not all going.
Yeah.
You know? We're not all going.
Yeah.
There's only 4 people on a flight.
But also, I think if you can please explain, because I think anybody can just assume that it's simple to orbit the moon. This is the first time we've gone to the dark side of the moon.
Yeah.
A la Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah. Technically, it's not the dark side. This is a fascinating bit of astronomical history. That side, the sun shines on that side. It's the far side.
The far side.
It's always been called the dark side, but it's just that we never see it. So the moon is locked so that when it rotates, the same side's always facing us. So there's a far side that we never see. And then there's the near side that we always see, and the only side we see. So some of the Apollo astronauts went on the far side, but they didn't have this view. This was the first time these astronauts had this whole view of the far side of the moon. So they definitely have seen things nobody else has seen. They've been further than any human being has ever been from the Earth. They got their own private total eclipse of the sun. The moon occulted the sun from their point of view. They had a private eclipse viewing.
Do you have any interest in going into outer space?
I for sure did, but I don't really anymore. I mean, you know, you have these kids, and then, you know, it sort of changes, and then it looks really uncomfortable. And they have nerves of steel, these people. I don't think I have nerves of steel. They're just, their mental composition is incredibly special, I think. They're kind of can't be perturbed, you know. They're incredibly even-keeled. And I'm just incredibly impressed with their audacity.
If you had an opportunity, and let's say hypothetically, you can enter a black hole and exit the black hole. But if you had the opportunity to enter a black hole,
well, that I'm doing. Yeah, but I could come back and have experienced a year or two, and thousands of years would have passed here on Earth.
Yes. And
so that's a pretty terrible deal. That's a pretty terrible deal. unless you're unattached in this world, unless there are people you're willing to say goodbye to.
Well, I wasn't planning on getting that morbid. I was just gonna ask, what would be your song? Like your
my
entrance?
song.
What's that song that you would play
That's
as you
so
enter a black
hard.
hole?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh, I don't know. I don't think I can answer that. I don't think I can commit yet. I will say that I don't know if you heard the Artemis astronauts had their own playlist.
They did.
Their wake up playlist, which I'm sure you can listen to on Spotify. CeeLo Green had work. They had some good tunes to wake them up. I don't think I can commit yet. I'd really have to think about that.
Okay. You have spoken about the emotional weight of studying the universe. Has your work ever changed how you experience everyday life on Earth?
There are times where just life is so ordinary. I'm stressed. I'm late. There's nothing special about my work that's saving me from that. You know what I mean? I'm in traffic in a cab or the subway stuck or whatever. And it just all feels so ordinary, and I'm ashamed of that. Because there are times where thinking about it, I think does give me like a little bit of that bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So like for a minute, I can breathe easier. I can see how silly some of it is. Put it in perspective. I think when we think about strife between people and strife between countries and that view is very helpful. And there's a name for it. They call it the overview effect from the first time an astronaut took a picture of the Earthrise. It's a very famous photograph from that era. And that was when Earth Day was invented, right? So by going to the moon, we thought about the Earth. And so, yeah, I definitely think that sometimes when I'm doing stuff and I'm working in higher dimensional spaces and I'm wondering if there are other universes, and sometimes it's just this math. And then for a minute, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God.
And
what if this is true?
And just because you bring up universes, just to give us perspective, how many universes are in existence out there?
Yeah. Some people assign a number. It's a big number. I don't know if you like exponents, but like how 10 to the 2 is 100, 10 to the 3 is 1,000, 10 to the 6 is 1,000,000. It's 10 to the 500 is like a number some people will put on it. It's a number so big it doesn't have a name. I think when you're getting up to numbers that big, we should probably be thinking about possibly an infinite number of universes. There's this... People are like, what do you mean other universes? And there is this idea that we keep realizing we're not special. So we're not the only planet. We're not at the center of the solar system. The sun is not the only stellar system. The star is not at the center of the galaxy. The galaxy is not the only galaxy in the universe. It's not at the center. Maybe it's also not the only universe. And meaning nature just tries these experiments over and over and over again. Maybe other universes have more dimensions. Maybe they have fewer. Maybe they don't support life. Maybe they're short-lived. Maybe they're wrapped up like a little origami, all glued together, all small. There's no space to move around, And nature just tries every possibility over and over and over again. You can kind of think of it as a kind of cosmic Darwinism, or a cosmic evolution.
Right.
Think about how organisms evolved. They were just trying to survive and trying and dying and mutating and not surviving. And then one thing survives and does well and keeps going, So not all those universes will live for billions of years or have planets and stars and life to meditate on it,
Do you believe that we're all alone?
If we're talking about if it's possible and true that there are other universes, we cannot be.
Yeah.
But those other universes are disconnected from us. They're not in our space and time. And in that sense, just right here, the question of are we alone becomes, well, are there others in this universe? They have to be here for us to not be alone.
Right.
And I feel pretty confident we're going to discover life. I just think we're going to discover like microbial life or bacteria. Like I was saying to a friend, just, we're searching for life, and I'm really confident we're going to find life. I just am not confident they're going to be searching for us.
Right.
Meaning that they're going to be technologically by coincidence right where we are. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't think other technologies are going to exist out there. I just think it's very unlikely they're right around here right now. They have right about the same technology as us, just on the cusp. They're not so advanced. They're not so behind us. All that sounds really shaky and suspicious, right? It seems really possible there's another civilization billions of years away that existed billions of years ago, has already come and gone, or will be here billions of years in the future. And that our overlap is just incredibly unlikely. Yeah.
Right, because there's like the zoo and the zookeeper theory, right? Like they're here, we don't even know it. We're being watched, and they're like, this is a little kind of crazy what's going on right now. We're just going to see how kind of like the cards fall. Yeah,
I'm definitely going to say that's possible.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's likely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if I'm thinking about something in the universe, I mean, the truth is I work on a lot of unlikely stuff. But, if I had to bet, if I had to gamble, I wouldn't bet on that. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible.
Janna, 40, 50 years from now, how do you want to be remembered?
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I mean, I think being remembered at all, is something to aspire for. And I think we all have something different in the way we view the world, in the way we metabolize the world, and then it's sort of this obligation to manifest that in the world somehow, and so I will hope that by the time all of this great life is over, that there will have been just a special combination that I would like to have contributed. A little overlap of, a humanistic sense, a very big scientific sense, an artistic appreciation for how it all fits together,
Well, thank you once again for trusting in me and my random text messages and not being annoyed by my persistence.
Not at all.
Thank you so much for coming down here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jen.
It's really been fun.
I would like to present today's special musical guests. We have LifeOfThom, Rasheed Chappell, and Plaza.
Yo, the episode started when I rose up or close up. Tunnel vision, stop the hold up. We come from cold cuts and quarter waters. Got coops in front your daughters. They be shooting in my city. This isn't no law and order. Got money makers, the have-nots. Kinda sortas. Our condition is conditioned from all the shit that they taught us. Say only Lord knows, but you can see the truth in time. Never fabricated, you can see the proof in mine. Crime keep rising, rise to the top. Know that train keep riding, it just don't stop. Raise your L if you're feeling it. They threw the real on it, the nukes never opening, kid. They threw the seal on it, liquid cash in abundance, penthouse in the hundreds. See every block is blocked out, word to your summons. Youngins that push a button that'll lift you off your feet. Feel you thuggin' if you running up better, so what you reap. It's Plaza.
Yo, stay awake. Yo. I'm from the era of the Nextel chirp, triple XL shirts, don't step, don't work. The package and a stamp helping move like merch. It moved on the first, hallelujah, this church. The dollar bill, know the power that the dollar will, the dollar short. Fuck around and for that dollar kill, Dowdy grill. All chrome like the 4/5. Cock the hammer, pull it back like a foreskin. The fortune, the fame, the bitches, the chains. The spoons of the black tar, the stench from the flame. The game we admired, the risk that's required. To see our name and lights, only fueled our desires. Tires on the Wrangler, stunting with the roof off. Niggas hungry, hunting to take your roof off. Crabs in the barrel, loaded mags in the barrel. Anytime a nigga shine, death lurking in the shadows, nigga. Project City, stay awake.
One, Jack, one. It's a commodity, the POV of God, but I'll be easily a fond of such a power. Can I have it like the world or the girl for an hour? Make she twirl on a tower. Am I the Roman knight? Need a saber, but I started to guard off mediocrity and abolish. I'm modest by my downfalls. Lately I'm a monster creeping right up underneath your bed like the roca. It's buggy when La Boca do be saying stuff unnecessarily like a low bra. I'm under alcohol and leaning like I'm on a lust. Creeping out with copromethazine. Was 14, not a fuck given. But I miss some stuff linen. I'm living, still spitting. A master MC, got this talent out of district where it's different. Not tuition to a college is expensive. I spent it to become what I'm meant. Apparently a superstar, inherently it's few to come closer to a sun. Stay bright even when they be throwing shade. No matter see them lanes when I like so they partake in the fight so one could say I'm on the right side of history, but your ego in the way. It's one.
Yo, it's one. Yo. You awake, yo. Allah Akbar, papi, Dios te bendiga. Yo, me and mine's is different, diferente la tira. So many leathers in the closet, my neighbors calling her Peter. Real confidence, Plaza hit it out the park like Jeter. More like Piazza, baby, I'm a Met. But still gotta see my green like I'm a Jet. Yo, the Blues are the Giants, baby, bring the horns in. Who the fuck is this? I tell you this is warning. Roll like a Frenchman, curse like a sailor. Fresh out the cleaners, shout to the tailor. See me in the physical, go postal like I mailed ya. It ain't hard to tell, but I promise nobody tell you. Made your bed, go to sleep, it's the coffin and the nail. Who your people is, they riding or dying, you posting bail. What we talking about, your people still glorifying jail. We got away easy, yo, nobody saw this sale. Yo, I already told you since the bucket in the pail. Another story, another crime, another tale. I'm still right when I'm wrong, baby, I can never fail. It was written and it was felt like it was written in Braille, be sure.
Yeah. Stay awake. Yo. Read the name on the marquee, the main feature. My slang teachers, like the blood of slain leaders. My words life, like a wound to a fetus. It's in vitro, niggas cancer. I spit chemo with no emo. Stone face militant stance. Money talk, nigga feel a few grants. The OG say I'm 88. Bucket hat, ducking low on the T-top with vanity plates. Curve this blow or that raw bass, pumping that easy rock. Toss a lot, my dean, and how to squeeze a Glock, not folding. $100 dice rolling. Be on the lookout when vice rolling. I've been chosen like Christ, frozen by life. The money in the limelight, holes in the ice. Bold in the Pyrex, blown through the pipe. My poetry infectious, expose you to life, nigga. For real.
Uptown shit, yeah. One, whoa. Peace to my dogs making echoes when they bark. I sip Prosecco, cop Gelato, wanna spark. A little sweet, little dark, I'm just a light heart. Tossing mad charms for the keeps, I love the white parts. Intended my best, shifting gears, I know it's my start of leap year. Yeah, I got it, never doubted through the street kid. Shit sizing down, I said, wait up just a minute. What's the fear all around? It's the fall, I admit it. I go halt at a pivot, still I got a torn meniscus. Trying to twist up the notch and raise the volume specific. I just want it loud and loud, I'm copping down where I got lifted. Climbing down the tower, got a chance to spot a vision. A glance at the big fans, it's looking like it all pans. Right to left, what went left is alright, fam. The odds get beside, I bet the pros got a good stance. A slip on the game, a rip on the paint. Courtside with the winner guys, don't care about fame. With some buzz to the champagne, I'm dousing this pain. I've been drunk in the shade, twisted out a hole, made a flip in the trade like the stock in the gold. I said it's one.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you see it. Are you awake? Are you awake? Yo, the world keeps ending, I still don't bend. Who was there when the clock hit the dial? Don't pretend, get it in. Gotta flip the deck of cards, no regards for the opposition. We high cars and low garages, congregate conferences. My conscience conquered it, immaculate. Wrapped it whack dog, sent back the packages. Pass the plaque out, it's the pleasure the king. Only a queen fit to do it when she measured the ring under the rug. No love in the city of drugs. Distorted delusion, oozing in the streets of the slugs. Pain of thugs, bled out like the champagne. My campaign anomaly. What we got, son, break it down properly. Monopoly money built like the properties and trust. Couldn't count on them to do it, yo. Who we got but us? One. Stay awake. Come on.